Hello, future scientists, and welcome back to another tutorial, this one being for grade 12 chemistry, and I'm going to go over two problems that have to deal with calorimetry calculations. So let's get started. So here's our first problem. Here we have a reaction, very simple reaction. Carbon combines with oxygen, gives us CO2. Then we release a certain amount of energy. So the energy term is over here in our products, meaning this is an exothermic reaction. Energy is being released. So the overall enthalpy of the system is actually decreasing, right? Because we have a certain amount of energy with carbon and oxygen, and then obviously less with CO2 since energy is leaving. So what we need to do is if we perform a reaction where we have 250 milliliters of water, you might be asking, where's the water coming from? Well, we have to remember how calorimetry works. This is one example of a calorimeter where we'll have a reaction vessel, and then we perform a reaction, and in this case, an exothermic one, what it's going to do is heat up the surrounding water. So as we heat up the surrounding water, we can figure out how much energy was actually released based on how high the temperature is increased for the water, hence our thermometer. So in our calorimeter, we have 250 milliliters of water, and the temperature increases from 20 to 80 degrees. So what we need to do is figure out how much carbon was used to create that increase in temperature. Let's try. So the first step is to figure out how much energy the water actually gained. So step one, we're going to use Q for heat equals mc delta T. So we have the mass of the water. It said 250 milliliters, but since water's density is 1 gram per milliliter, that's just 250 grams. Specific heat capacity for liquid water is 4.18 joules per gram degrees Celsius. And we went from 20 degrees to 80 degrees, so final temperature, 80, minus initial temperature, 20. So if we throw this into our calculators, we get about 62,700 joules. If we divide by 1,000, that's 62.7 kilojoules of energy. Now let me remind you of our reaction. So here is our reaction. Now what this says is our coefficient here for carbon is 1. So for every 1 mole of carbon, we get 393 kilojoules of energy. So essentially what this means is this is how much energy we get per mole of carbon if we want to talk about carbon. But we didn't get 393 kilojoules, we got 62.7. So how this works, if this was 2 moles of carbon, it would be twice that. 3 moles of carbon is 3 times that. Clearly we have something less than that, so obviously we made less than a mole of carbon. So how much carbon did we actually make? There's 2 ways that we can figure this out. The grade 11s like the first way because they're so used to stoichiometry. So that's method 1. So I'm going to call this method A. Let's call this method A for step 2. So we could use stoichiometry and create our stoichiometric ratios. And if we do that, we can have, say, 1 mole of carbon gives us 393 kilojoules of energy. So how much moles of carbon, say X, gives us 62.7 kilojoules of energy? That's method 1. We can multiply both sides by 62.7, and we would get X equals 62.7 kilojoules times 1 mole, all divided by 393 kilojoules. Other way of doing it is to use this equation, Q equals N delta H. This would be the molar enthalpy for the reaction, meaning how many kilojoules of energy do you get per mole of something. This would be the energy created in the experiment, which we performed right here. There's Q. N would be the number of moles. So we can just calculate for N by dividing by delta H. So you have Q, which is 62.7, and the molar enthalpy is 393 kilojoules per 1 mole of carbon. So 393, forgot kilojoules here, kilojoules per mole. Notice that this is the exact same as this. So two ways of approaching the same equation. I let my students do whichever one they're more comfortable with. And when we throw that onto our calculator, we get about 0.16 moles of carbon. Now the question wasn't asking for moles of carbon, it was asking for mass. But we're in grade 12 chemistry now, so converting moles to mass is something we know how to do. So mass is moles times molar mass. So we have 0.16 moles of carbon, and the molar mass of carbon, 12.01 grams per mole. So that gives us 1.92 grams. Not so bad. Let's try the second example. So in our second example, notice there's no energy term here. So how do we know if this is exothermic or endothermic? We're actually going to look at the experiment and what was done. So we had a certain amount, 5.2 grams of potassium hydroxide, to neutralize 200 milliliters of nitric acid. And when that happened, the temperature of our solution increased from 21 to 28.1. So energy, therefore, was released. Right? So this is an exothermic reaction. So there should be an energy term put here. That will be our molar enthalpy. The question is, what is that molar enthalpy? So in this question, we are actually going to determine what delta H actually is. So step one, just as before, how much energy was actually released to heat up our solution? Let's figure that out. Step one, Q equals MC delta T. Now it said the volume of nitric acid was 200 milliliters. Now our solution, the solvent is water. So we can just say mass is the same, roughly the same density. The ions really don't make that much of a difference. So I'm going to say 200 grams. And again, the energy that's released is heating up the solution, which is pretty much water. So I'm going to use 4.18 joules per gram degrees Celsius for C. And then our temperature increase was from 21 to 28.1, so final minus initial. So if we throw that onto our calculators, we get about 5,940. Divide by 1,000 gives us it in kilojoules. So 5.94 kilojoules of energy that was released. All right, so let me just remind you of our reaction up here. And we're going to have plus some sort of energy term here that we need to figure out. So what is that molar enthalpy? Well, this is how much energy the water increased by. But our potassium hydroxide, we didn't have 1 mole of potassium hydroxide. We had 5.2 grams of it. So how many moles is that? Well, let's figure that out. So step 2, moles is mass over molar mass. So we have 5.2 grams of potassium hydroxide over its molar mass, which is 56.1 grams per mole. So that gives us, at just enough room here, 0.0927 moles of potassium hydroxide. So this is how many moles of potassium hydroxide we have, and that's how much energy we got from this. But how much energy would you get from 1 mole? Let's go to our equation. Q equals N delta H. So this is what we want. the enthalpy change for 1 mole of, we'll use potassium hydroxide. So if we solve for that, it is Q divided by N. So 5.94 kilojoules divided by the number of moles, 0.0927 moles. Notice our units are now in kilojoules per mole, and we get 64 kilojoules per mole. So let's replace this with 64 kilojoules. And I don't have to write per mole up there because you can see that the coefficient is 1. So that is per mole. Okay, if this coefficient were different, I would have to adjust. Right? If this were a 2, I would need to double that. All right, now last thing I just want to note is that even though I calculated this to be 64, typically when we calculate the change in enthalpy of a reaction, it's always products minus reactants. So in an exothermic reaction, you have less internal energy in the products. This will give you a negative value when you calculate the change. So recognizing that, we should say, therefore, our change in enthalpy for the reaction, and I'll just write at standard conditions, that's all that means, is negative 64 kilojoules per mole. And that is because this is an exothermic reaction. Well, I hope that tutorial helped. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you're taking grade 12 physics anytime soon, you can download my entire course pack for free in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.